Hello, welcome to the Knife Yak channel. Today I'm going to do a first impressions video on the American Lawman by Cold Steel. I've had a couple of Cold Steel folding knives in the past. They're quite old. I have the Voyager. I think this is the 4-inch version, and I never use it because I haven't been too thrilled with the clip, and the lockup is a little bit the lockup is fine, but nice and tight, but it's just not easy to deploy and redeploy. The thumb studs are painful and pointy, and the thing's just kind of bulky and just kind of clunky, and I'm not too thrilled with it. And I have this this Voyager Vaquero Grande, which is very old school. This is not the current version of this knife, but it's got that large odd-shaped recurved blade with the serrations. I'm not a big fan of serrations. This one is kind of cool in a way, but I can't carry it or use it to any practical degree. And so I wanted to try out the American Lawman, which is a knife that's been out for quite a long time and has received some really good publicity and positive reviews from various YouTube channels. And so yeah, this one I think is going to serve me well. And before I unbox this and give you the my overview of it, I just will tell you up front what it is I'm looking for and curious about based on what I've learned about this knife and other Cold Steel knives. One of my main concerns is the strength of the backlock spring. My brother once showed me, I think it was a Cold Steel Code 4 knife that he had, and the back spring on that knife was so tight that I really couldn't even push the lock access thing hard enough to even get it to release. And I don't think I'm that big of a weakling, but I found it literally impossible to close that knife, and I'm hopeful that this American Lawman will be better. Based on what I've seen in the reviews, everybody seems to be able to close it easily enough. So that's one of the things that I'm going to check. I'm also curious about the peak. This little pointy area, or this pointy protuberance between the finger choil and this other recessed area. I wonder if that's going to be viable. So I think this will feel good in my hand, but I wonder if that little point is going to be a problem. So I'm also curious about the strength of the clip. Is this thing going to tear up my pants, and will I be able to carry it clipped to my pocket? It might not matter too much because I'll probably carry this around in a belt pouch anyway, so I will obviously check to see if it fits in the pouch. And then, of course, the triad lock. The Cold Steel knives that I have don't have the triad lock because it didn't exist back when I got those. So I'm curious to see how the triad lock works, and if I can add to the list of people, if I can add my own name to the list of people who really rave about this thing. So let's see if I can get this box open here using the micro Jimbo. I like that they use normal sized packaging. We don't need a gigantic box for a small knife, and that's just about right. The thing fits in there perfectly. So, oh, there's the other clip. Yeah, because these clips are not straight. If you're going to switch the clip for left-hand carry, you'll need a different clip, right? Otherwise it won't be symmetrical. So here we go. The G10 is about what I expected. It's pretty grippy, which is good. I like G10, and I like it to have a fair amount of that peel ply texture. So it opens up nicely. The thumb studs don't hurt, and there's some grooves on the stud that makes it easy to grip. So now the big question: will I, with my mere human strength, be able to close this? Oh, look at that! That is good. That's exactly what I hoped it would be. So I can easily close that with the tip of my thumb, Sometimes for lockbacks, I'll use the middle joint of my thumb because it's the bony area there makes it so you can push in with less pain. But the lock lifts up on the on the lock up side. It raises it enough to easily do that. I think I can do this with one hand. Here, I'm going to tilt the camera and see if I can do this. I have to turn around a little bit. I wanted to see if I can see it drop shut. Isn't that great? I love it. Okay, so I can easily close that, give it a little jolt, and it swings downwards without any major effort on my part. So that's excellent. Very pleased with that. So let's do a little general inspection here. The lockup is very secure. There is no blade play at all in the up or down direction. I don't detect any play in the lateral direction. I've always thought it was interesting that these newer Cold Steel thumb studs have one long and one short, and that's kind of interesting or different. So I really like the shape of this blade. It's a very standard, very versatile drop point blade shape, and looks like a hollow grind. I know on some earlier versions of this knife there was a flat grind version, but this one appears to be hollow grind, which is what I was expecting. And the edge feels pretty good. Cold Steel generally puts out good sharp edges out of the box, from what I've heard from other people who have more experience with them than I do. That's pretty good. Let me grab a piece of paper here and see what we have in terms of. Feels very smooth. So this is catalog paper. That is good. No complaints about the edge. I don't detect any burrs. Maybe right there a little bit. I don't know. Oh, not really. I think it's pretty good actually. It might be just a tad, but feels good in the hand. The handle is long enough that I can get all my fingers on there, even when I have my index finger in this recessed area here. We'll call this the primary finger indentation, and I'll call this one the secondary, or well, call this the choil, I guess, right? So the handle is quite thin, and so when I squeeze it, I can definitely feel the thinness of the handle. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, it's not going to be the most comfortable knife ever, because my hands are not huge, and so when I squeeze a knife that has a fairly thin handle, I can definitely feel it kind of pressing into my fingers and hand. But I don't really care about that too much, because I'd rather have it be secure in my hand than super comfortable. And this makes it really easy to index it, and you can orient the blade where you know where it's going to be without the knife twisting around in your hand when you do hard cutting. So that'll be okay. It would be more comfortable if the handle were a little narrower, but to me that's going to be okay. Let's see what else. Oh yes, I wanted to see if I could. Let's kind of just examine the innards. So it looks like there are washers inside there. Looks like double. They look like bronze. And let's see. This clip is going to be, oh holy cow, that is stiff. That's way stiffer than the one I'm used to on this knife. On this other Cold Steel Voyager, I actually have bent it out, so you can probably see the gap between there's actually so I've bent it out so that the clip doesn't even really touch the handle scale. But this one I'm gonna have to, man, I'm not even strong enough to do that. Let me try this on my pocket. I don't even think I'll be able to get this onto my pants. Okay, I've got my camera turned around so I can show you how this knife works on my pants pocket. So I wear Levi Dockers, which has kind of this vertical pocket slit, And if I stretch the fabric a little bit with my left hand, I can straighten everything out so the knife will slide onto my pocket fairly easily. There's a lot of texture underneath that clip, so between the stiffness of the clip and the low profile of this little upswept area, there's not a lot of clearance for that to grab hold of the double thick reinforced area of the pocket, but you can get it on there. Now doing that with one hand might be okay. So I just pulled that out of my pocket, and I just felt the tip of this knife coming open against my finger a little bit. Now I'm going to guess that that's because the stud is grabbing hold, and I think it might be that the long stud on one side is actually grabbing the stuff on the inside. There's this seams and layers inside my pocket, and I think the longer stud is actually catching on that. It's hard to say because I don't think the short stud is grabbing on the actual pocket, but yeah. So I went to pull that out, and it actually started to kind of deploy itself a little bit. Now when I try to put this in with one hand, it's hard to get the fabric to lay down flat enough for that to clear, and it bunches up like that, and it just snags. So yeah, this is going to be not the ideal knife as currently configured for this particular kind of pocket carry. But like I mentioned, I'm going to carry it in a pouch anyway, probably, so that's not a problem. If I were to carry this in my pocket regularly, I would just remove the clip, bend it out as much as necessary so that it doesn't grab hold so tight, and maybe reverse the position of the long stud relative to the other side. I just move the long stud to the other side, and maybe then it won't be a problem. But yeah, that's something you might want to know about if you're thinking about getting one of these knives. It kind of takes two hands to put it in your pocket, and you got to be careful when you draw it not to let that tip come open and possibly nick your index finger. But so there you go. Nothing's perfect in life. But my plan is to carry this knife in the Benchmade pouch, which I've discussed in other videos. This is the Benchmade soft sheath large, and I'm guessing it'll fit in there just fine. Oh, that's great. So yeah, it's I was wondering if the width of the handle might be too much, but no, it fits. This stud is going to hang up on there, so I might have to I might change the position of the stud so that the long one is on the underside, and that way this won't hang up there. But yeah, look at that. It just it won't even go in. It just catches on the lip there. So yeah, I'll probably do that. If this is my belt pouch carry knife, then I don't need to worry too much about the clip. But yeah, I'll probably switch the studs around. And I think the short stud is long enough that you can still, I'll still be able to open the knife without any trouble. Yeah, you just don't need that long one at all. That's just too long. I think that's way too long. I do like the fact, though, that Cold Steel knows how to put the stud fairly close to the handle, so you don't get a lot of interference when you cut stuff, right? When you're dismantling cardboard or cutting up your pineapples or whatever, you don't lose a lot of that useful part of your blade just because the stud's in the way. So yeah, I think I'm pretty pleased with this. But yeah, there's no liner, so it's just G10, right? But because you get the full closed back, that gives you a lot of strength and support and rigidity. And G10 is very strong, rigid, hard material anyway. So yeah, that's just solid. It doesn't need liners. It makes the knife fairly light in the hand. Let me do a little measurement here. I need to, my employer has a blade length limit of 3.5 inches, and this should be right about 3.5 inches. It's actually, that's 3 and a little bit more than 3.25. That's actually a little shorter than I thought it was going to be, because on some of the websites they advertise it as 3.5, I think, or well, I can't remember now, but anyway, it's well within my 3.5 inch blade limit, so that'll be fine. I can carry this one at work and not worry about being fired, at least not for that. So oh, I should probably measure also the, let's do a little caliper test on the behind the edge thickness. So this might be a little hard for me to do with the camera in the way, but I'm going to try it. That's just for people who take interest in those numbers. I don't worry about it too much. I care more about the secondary bevel angle, and I can't tell, but this one looks like it, just judging by the width of the grind. I'm going to guess that this one's pretty, this has got to be considerably less than 20 degrees per side. So it looks fine to me. I think the grind looks fairly even on both sides from heel to toe, and comparing one side to the other, it looks pretty good in terms of consistency. No major concerns there. So this coating is quite shiny, which is good. That means there won't be very much friction in the cut. I know some coatings add a type of kind of roughness to the blade, which I think can be a drawback when you're cutting through thick cardboard and things like that. But this looks good. It's actually quite shiny. But this is going to be great. I think it'll be very versatile. It looks like it'll be strong enough to do everything I expect it to do. It's it feels like it has a very positive grip. So yeah, in reverse grip it doesn't feel great because there's some the G10 has corners, so the inside part of the G10 handle slabs could be sanded down a little bit because it does kind of bite in, because the handle is fairly wide and thin, and these inner edges are not chamfered, so it's gonna, if you grab it just a certain way, it will bite just a little bit. I'll hold off on modifying anything, and I'll just see how I feel about it after a few days or weeks. And if I need to, I'll just gently sand off some of these corners, but I think I'm going to like this knife quite a bit. So that's my initial impressions overview. And yeah, I'll carry this around for about a month or so maybe, and I'll make another video after I've had a chance to put this thing through the tests. So yeah, thank you for watching.